Okay, so Suicide Squad is directed by David Ayer and is the second film in this DC cinematic universe. Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, is trying to put together this team to, combat the next Superman in case he turns evil. And this team is made up of superpowered villains who have abilities or are good at stuff. And, they commit crimes, but she says, she'll put this team together, promise them time off their prison sentence, and then they can fight various threats or whatever. Let's start with the positives of this film first. The characters and the actors are fine for the most part. There are some standouts. Will Smith and Harley Quinn were kind of the best, and everyone was sort of intriguing in their own way. Apart from that, this film is really, really bad. From the beginning of this film, there was problems. Like, literally the first 10 to 20 minutes feel like a trailer. Viola Davis / Amanda Waller sort of explaining as a character, saying, this is Deadshot, this is his background, his family members are this, he can do this, this and this. And then we get some flashbacks of Deadshot, being Deadshot and stuff. And it does this for every single character in the film, no exaggeration. It's a trailer and it's so long. And oh my goodness, it reminded me of the infamous email from Batman vs Superman, just these clips of the characters, and yeah, it's so lazy. I mean, I understand that of course you're going to have expositional scenes where you have to explain things, but when you do it like this, sort of obviously, just literally a character telling the audience, can you not do anything a bit more creative than that? So I try and avoid sort of backstage news about productions and things, reshoots and re-edits and rewrites, and Jared Leto being weird backstage or whatever. I try and ignore things like that and just try and review the film as it is when it comes out in cinemas. But there was one thing that interested me, and that was apparently the final cut of this film was edited by a trailer house, people who normally make trailers. And that is very apparent in this film. The beginning of the film, like I said, was just a trailer, literally introducing each character, taken forever before any actual plot began. And also the music in this film, my goodness. A lot of the songs used in this film I actually like. I don't like a whole lot of pop music, but the songs that were used in this film were songs that I like. But it uses a pop song every 5 seconds in this film, that's not even an exaggeration. And they're so mismatched with the tone of the film. It feels like David Ayer or whoever was directing these scenes, had the tone, to go with the scene, and then someone completely different in editing put this song on top of it, without the director or anyone knowing what was going on. I feel like several different people made final edits of this film, and the tone is just all over the place.
Seriously, what the hell's wrong with you people?
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
This film's chopped together really poorly. The film barely has scenes. Most of the film's just cut together flashbacks. Really quick sort of moments and things. Plot in this film makes no sense. There's no real spoilers in this film. There's no big twist or anything like that. So the villain of this film is Enchantress. She was, one of the Suicide Squad, and then it turns out she turns evil, and she brings back her brother Incubus, who's another CGI magic villain, and they create a big blue light in the middle of the city, which is going to enslave humanity or whatever. Now, so this plot, these Suicide Squad members, right, are Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Slipknot, Killer Croc and Pyro, right, and maybe some others I forget. Now, besides Pyro, none of these guys should be able to face a magical ancient villain with who's insanely powerful. Deadshot can shoot people really good. Harley Quinn has a baseball bat and can do acrobatics. Killer Croc is a crocodile. Captain Boomerang can throw boomerangs, and Pyro is a pacifist in this film. The entire plot makes no sense, and then when they finally kill the villain at the end, they just use bog standard dynamite to kill it. I mean, what? So if they could have just used dynamite, then why didn't they send just your average soldiers who they could trust instead of this unreliable Suicide Squad? And furthermore, it's established in this film that Batman, Wonder Woman and the Flash exist. Superman's dead now, spoilers. So why don't they send any of those people to fight this, threat? I'm pretty sure, a magic, insane, powerful thing that's going to enslave humanity is enough for Batman or Wonder Woman or the Flash to get involved. We actually see the Flash in this film, and Batman, and, they're just flashbacks, not really much more involvement than that. When we get to the city in this film, I thought, okay, the plot's started now, something might happen, and it is like a little bit tense, like a little bit for like the first 5 seconds when they get to the city. It's kind of like Escape from New York. All the Suicide Squad have these little bombs in their necks, so if they try and do anything, then the government will kill them, kind of thing, much like Escape from New York. And the tension's gone very quickly when we come across just these faceless adversaries. They're just, your zombies, your stormtroopers, things for our heroes to kill, who we have no connection to, or really any morality going on there. And talking about things for the villains to kill, the action scenes are so poor in this film. Like, they're just lackluster and like nothing really creative going on. There's like maybe 1 or 2 moments. Like, there's a bit with like Deadshot stood on a car and he's like shooting people, which looks kind of cool, I guess. The action scenes are shot in complete darkness. They're cut together very quickly. In fact, in the final battle of this film, there's like this fog and mist as well, just to, like, I don't know if they just like didn't want us to see the action. Like, it's just so bad. It's just bad. At least in like Batman vs Superman, I could like tell you some cool moments of action in that film. But like, there is a lot of action in Suicide Squad, and just none of it's interesting really. I suppose I should talk about Jared Leto as the Joker. If you're not a fan of Jesse Eisenberg and Batman vs Superman, it's better than that. For starters, he's not in the film a lot. He's in maybe 5 scenes, and 3 of those scenes are flashbacks. And like I said, like all the actors and the characters sort of do fine. But he's nothing really special. He's not trying to be Heath Ledger. Everyone will probably compare the two. But he's trying to do his own thing, and it's a bit different. It is a bit over the top at times, and some of his lines are really, really cringy, to be honest. But it was fine. So again, the real problem with this film is trying to do too much in one film. Trying to set up all these characters and try and make us relate to all of them. Really, the film like barely has scenes. Like the whole city sequence feels like a long drawn out scene. The only time in the film that I'd say was a scene was like this bar scene, where characters actually talk and stuff, which was kind of nice, but even then it still felt forced and out of place in the film. To be honest, like everything in this film feels forced, like the jokes, the character motivations, like the film trying to make us like the characters. It just all feels like try-hardy. Like, oh my gosh, there are some really cringy lines in this film. Like, I know that's an overused word, but trust me on this. Like, Killer Croc, he's pretty much the dedicated one-liner character in this film. I want a big TV with TiVo. That's an actual line he says in the film. To be honest, if you want to see some more of the cringy lines, they're in the trailer. Like, in the trailer, they don't feel like that bad. They feel just kind of like trailer lines. But in the film, they just come off like, ugh. they don't come off very well in the film. Like I said, like these characters are fine, and I do mean that. Just fine. Like, they're not great. They just need more like time dedicated to them. Like, I know it's not Game of Thrones. We can't have like several episodes of like just these 100-line conversational scenes to get us invested in these characters. I'm 100% positive that you can take the characters in these films, pick them out, put them in 3 or 4 different films, make an effort on those individual films, put them out in cinemas. They'll easily make $200 million or something. People do like these characters and will go see them, and then make your Suicide Squad movie, which will, inevitably make more money. Like, that just makes sense to me. I'm not a corporation, but putting all your eggs in one basket, putting like all these characters in one film straight away, I know that doesn't work. So my final verdict on this film, I really don't think it's the worst film ever made. There are like a few moments and some jokes that genuinely did make me laugh, but overall the film is pretty bad. Story's incoherent, the plot doesn't make any sense, the action is very uncompelling, the editing is honestly some of the worst I've ever seen. But if you are a fan of these characters and you just enjoy seeing them on the big screen, there is some enjoyment here. I'm going to give this film a 3 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on Suicide Squad. This film's like really divided, like critics hate it, some fans like it. Like I was sort of slightly optimistic to see the film, and I didn't hate it, but I really just didn't like it all that much personally. If these DC films are going to get any better, I think we're going to have to wait a really long time, because, you know, this film, you know, getting negative response, and Wonder Woman and Justice League have already been filmed. So if they're going to respond to those films like they responded to this film because of the response to Batman vs Superman, I feel like it's going to be like another cycle of bad when those films come out. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Thanks very much for watching, and see you later.